When I saw this hutch at my local thrift store, I immediately started thinking about how I could paint it. Hi, I'm Liberty. Welcome to Before and Afters at Century Farms. This is my current hutch, which was a little bit too small for my space. It only took me a few minutes to decide which color scheme I would use before I decided to buy this hutch. In part one, I showed you how I used a gray wash to give a weathered look to the bottom. And now I'm going to show you how I painted the top. Step one, number the doors from left to right. Step two, remove the hardware. Step three is to clean with TSP. Don't forget to change your water, rinse out your rag, and go over the piece again to rinse it completely. And step four is to sand if necessary. Okay, when I was washing these, the water was running behind this cross divider, and I could see it on the other side, and I realized that in order to clean it and to paint it, the best way would be if I could get this glass out. So there is some rubber holding this glass in, and I think, if you look at this one, I think, kind of close, I think I'm going to be able to just pull that out. Look at that. It's made to just hold this in, and I believe I'm going to be able to snap it right back in when I am finished. So let's see if I can get this all out without breaking them. This is going to make this so easy because these are not glued in, and the glass, it's not plexiglass. I think it's real glass. Maybe it's plexiglass. It's not glued in, and so that's going to make this very easy to refinish. Okay, I had to stop and grab a screwdriver here to loosen this. Hopefully, loosen this. There we go. This is glass. Look at that. Oh, yay. And now I can clean it, I can paint it to my heart's content, and then just reassemble it when I'm all done. I debated how to mix the ivory color that I wanted. I could use clear white and a little bit of dog bone with a little bit of baby I'm amazed, or I could do basically half white and half dog bone to follow the recipe for linen and lace. And eventually that's what I did. I just added more dog bone. So there's different ways to get to the color that you're looking for. Step 5, get your paint clothes on, mix your paint, and get ready to start. Got to paint the insides of each of these 4 squares. So I like to do that first before I paint the front or the top. So show how I'm doing this. I thought I'd try this craft brush, and it does seem to work well for this part. And then I'll switch to a regular brush. So glad I could get the glass out of here easily. This is making it so much easier to paint. I will have to do several coats of this to cover the brown. It's best if you can work in a climate-controlled environment, because if it's too hot, your paint might start drying before you want it to. If you have to work in a hot environment like I am, then it's okay to add a little bit of distilled water if you need to. It's hot in the garage. I had to close the doors so that whatever's flying around in the air doesn't get in my paint. So it's warm in here. We're at the end of May right now in Pennsylvania. Okay, and then it's a good idea to turn it around, look at it from a different angle, see what you missed. Go over it again. Because it's so hot, everything's drying rather quickly. All right, here's where I switch to a brush. And I'm making sure I get these edges all the way around. Doesn't have to be perfect because I will be going over this many times to get it smoother, but hopefully you can see how that's turning out. Step 6 is to paint the first coat in an orderly manner and do a really good job, because you are laying the foundation for the rest of the coats that you will be applying. Depending on what you're comfortable with, you may want to start with the most detailed parts first to get the harder parts over with, or if you're less experienced, you may want to start with the easy surfaces first. I found that the small drawer fronts were the easiest to paint, so I would suggest to start there if this is your first time. Since this top part of the hutch is going to sit on the bottom part, I knew the bottom part would be more at eye level, and so I asked my husband to help me set it on these blocks so I could make sure to paint it really well there at the bottom. I'm really glad I did, because as you can see, it was a little difficult getting under there to paint it. Also, I'm really glad I had that high density foam mat to kneel on. It really helped my knees and made working on the cement floor a whole lot easier. I actually have 2 more of these mats that I use on piano benches to give me a little bit more height. I had to go get this little paintbrush to get in this dental molding detail. Later on, I switched to a little bit larger artist brush. I stopped and taped the shelves because I realized I would need to do that in order to make the fronts of them look really good. Step 7 is paint the second coat and the third coat, and if you need to, a fourth coat. Here you can see the first coat on the left and the second coat on the right. Because it's such a light color over a dark color, I think I did about 4 coats in some places. I tested out how my plates were going to look against the dark background. It had been suggested to me that maybe I wouldn't need to paint the inside of the cabinet to make my dishes stand out, and I'm really glad I followed that suggestion. It is finally time to put on the top coat. This is Guard Dog top coat from Black Dog Salvage Paint. They also have Show Dog top coat. Show Dog Top Coat was formulated to go over white and lighter colors as it has less urethane and therefore will not amber. Both Show Dog and Guard Dog are safe for medium tones and darker tones, and both of them are also durable. Step 8. Apply at least 2 coats, maybe 3, of your top coat. I want to take a minute and talk to you about drying and recoating times. You should let the paint dry 4 to 6 hours between coats in normal humidity. If it's more humid, you might need a little more time. Then before you add the top coat, you need to wait at least 24 hours and maybe 48 hours to let the paint completely dry. Once you have applied your top coat, then you need to let each top coat layer dry between 2 to 4 hours depending on the weather. I save one of my paint brushes to use just for the top coat. It keeps it nicer and helps to give a really nice finish. The brush that I use for paint just gets a little more roughed up. I'd love for you to leave a comment and let me know what you think of my project. In the description below, I will link to the bottom part of this hutch. I invested a lot of time into painting this piece, and right now in my life, I have more time than money. At the end of this video, I'm going to show you the Amish furniture that was $6,000, and you can tell me how you like that piece compared to this piece. I wish I had been able to keep track of my time better working on this piece, but if I had to guess, I would say that altogether I had to have spent at least 40 hours painting the top and the bottom. So this goes fairly quickly on this piece until I get to the bottom, and there's so much to do under there, and because this sits higher, like counter level, and you'll see underneath, I'm painting it white underneath too. I think it'll look so much better if I hadn't. So that takes a lot of time underneath there. You just want to be careful as you can not to have drips. Have a nice coverage, but don't leave it so that it can put drips. It's just better to do a second coat instead. And just keep looking at it in the light. As always, I will be writing a blog post with more details and more pictures and information. If you have any questions about doing this, please ask me in the comments, either here on the video or in the blog post. Either way, I will see them. So if I was selling this piece and I wanted to make $25 an hour, I would have to sell it for about $1,000, and that does not include making it like they did at the Amish market. A lot of this part you're not going to see because it's going to be behind the doors when the doors are closed. But I still just want to do a good job, as always. I did the bottom part of this hutch in a completely different finish and color. And I think it's going to look really good together. I hope you like it too. I'm doing the bottom in a weathered wood gray wash. And I'm also leaving some of the natural brown for the countertop part. I just think it's going to look so nice together. That's one thing when you decide to paint something, you know, it might be hard to decide which color, but once you figure out what will go with your room, it can really look nice. One thing that I would have done differently on this piece is I would have taped the backs of the doors so that they stayed nicer when I painted them. I switched to this artist paintbrush to do the dental molding on the top of the hutch, and now I am using it to put the last coat of Guard Dog on this part of the window, and it's working a lot better. Because I'm using Guard Dog, I don't want too much, or if there's a drip, it will yellow. So this brush is really helping me not put on too much and to do a faster and better job. And then I'm still using my blue brush for the bigger parts. So I just wanted to show you this brush that I'm using. Okay, we brought the top part into the house and I put some felt between the top part and the bottom part, and now it's time to put the hardware on. Step 9, take off any tape and reassemble your piece by putting in the drawers and reattaching the hardware. I cleaned the hardware with a damp rag before reattaching it, and when I had taken it off, I put it in this box that I marked so that I knew exactly where to reattach it. I started the screws by hand and then tightened them up with the drill. You probably already know that you should tighten each screw just part way and then go around and tighten them all the way one by one. I'll tell you a little secret. I left the glass out of the doors on purpose so that I could take the finished photos without the glare of the glass. So when I was done with that, I finally put the glass in the doors. I planned that the top part of my hutch would match my wall color, and as you can see, it does and looks really nice together. I didn't check to see if the shelf lined up with the doors. It does line up, so I really would not have had to paint the shelf white, but I'm glad I did, especially because I needed to paint the bottom shelf in order for it to look right, because it does show. My hutch is finally finished. Black Dog Salvage Furniture Paint sponsored the paint for this. I told them my idea and they thought it was a great color combination. They suggested that I leave the inside of the top brown to offset my dishes, and I'm really glad I did. I think that was a great idea and that it's going to look amazing. I used Guard Dog Satin top coat on the entire thing. You do have to be careful not to let it drip or it will be yellow on this lighter color. You can use Show Dog for a little bit less durable finish and no yellow drips. Of course, you don't want any drips, no matter what the color. I used all the same hardware. That was my plan from the beginning. That made it easier when I was preparing to paint because I didn't have to get rid of the places where the hinges were attached. I have not put the glass back in yet because of the glare, but I will be doing that soon with the doors. I'm really excited because each of the shelves has a ridge for plates to sit. Both of these shelves and also this one on the bottom. So 3 plate ridges, and I'm so excited to put my plates in here, which used to belong to 2 different grandmothers. One a great grandmother. Since this was going to be sitting higher, I also painted underneath white just to make it look nice. I really love the contrast with the brown and the white and the weathered gray. So if you have any questions, let me know. This looks like 2 drawers, but it's 1 drawer. This piece looks so nice in my dining room. The other piece I had was a little bit too small for the room. Here is what my other hutch looked like. And as soon as I get the rest of the room straightened up and the dishes in the hutch, I will show you the entire room and the effect that this hutch has on the whole room. I would love to know if you have special dishes and if you have a nice place to display them. I thought you might like to see a close-up of my dishes. The white ones with the tiny flower borders were my great-grandmother's. It's kind of an interesting story how I got them. I happened to be visiting my great-aunt who was having a yard sale because she was downsizing, and my great-grandmother was her mother. I happened to be in the right place at the right time, and I'm so glad I was. If you watched the video about the bottom part of this hutch, you might remember the $6,000 Amish hutch. I'm curious, how do you think I did? I'm so happy with how this turned out. It just feels like it belongs in this room and in my house. Here's what the hutch looked like before and after I painted it with Black Dog Salvage Furniture Paint. I hope you have enjoyed this before and after.